In our lesson today, we're going to learn about simple interest. When you deposit money in a bank account, the bank pays you interest for the right to use money for a certain period of time. Okay, it works the other way as well. If you borrow money from the bank, then you're going to have to pay the bank interest for using their money. Our formula for simple interest says I equals P times R times T. Four different parts to this. Okay, we're going to outline what each of those are down here. But this is the formula that we'll always use for simple interest. I equals PRT. Interest. Interest is money earned or paid for the use of money. Money earned or paid for the use of money. As I mentioned up here, if you deposit money in the bank will pay you interest for the right to use your money. And again, if you borrow money from the bank, if you take out a loan, then you're going to have to pay the bank interest for using their money. All right. Principal. P stands for principal. This is the original amount deposited or borrowed. Okay, the original amount that you put in the bank or the original amount that you borrow from the bank. Okay, the rate. This is a percentage of the principal, and it's going to be, when we use our equation, expressed as a decimal. So just like we've done with our other equations, when we give the percentage in the question, we change it into a decimal when we use the equation. Time for this equation is always expressed in years. Okay, how many years did you leave the money in the bank? We'll talk about what to do later on if they give you the amount of years in months. Okay, so again, this is what our simple interest equation is. I equals PRT. Interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. So now we've talked about what simple interest is and what the simple interest formula is. Let's use that in our example here. Suppose that you deposit $400 in a savings account and you keep it in the bank for 6 years. The annual rate is 5%. We're going to identify the different values and plug them into our formula here. So again, in words, interest is the principal times the rate times the time. As an equation, we said that the equation is I equals PRT. All right, we need to fill in the different values given. All right, so it says that you've deposited $400. That's the original deposit, which is the principal. So we can substitute that in for P. All right, we leave it in the bank for 6 years. Remember, time we always express in years. So for T, the time, we're going to put 6. And the rate was 5%. Okay, remember, to use this equation, we're going to convert that into a decimal. 5% is the same as 5/100ths. And we're trying to calculate I, which is the amount of interest. Okay, so in order to get the value of I, all we have to do is multiply 400 times 5/100ths times 6. And when we do that, we end up with a value of 120. Okay, I, the interest, is $120. It's a dollar amount. Okay, I is $120. That's how much interest you would earn. Now, again, for this equation, the time was already in years, but what happens if they give us months? Okay, well, to convert months into years, all you need to do is divide by 12, since there are 12 months in a year. Okay, so if I had 6 months, all I would do is 6 divided by 12, which comes out to be 5/10ths, or half a year. 6 months is half of a year. 3 months, we would do 3 divided by 12, which comes out to be 25/100ths, or 1/4 of a year. 3 months is a quarter of the year. 18 months, 18 divided by 12 comes out to be 1 and 5/10ths. 18 months is a year and a half. Okay, so working through the questions, if they give you the time in months, convert it into years by dividing by 12. In example 1, we're told that Maggie is taking out a student loan for $2,600. She plans on paying off the loan in 3 years. At the end of 3 years, Maggie will have paid $390 in interest. What is the simple interest rate on this student loan? Okay, so we'll start by writing our simple interest equation. I equals PRT. and then we'll see what we are able to substitute in. All right, so first of all, they tell us that she's borrowing $2,600. That's the amount of the principal, $2,600. And we're looking for the rate. What is the simple interest rate? So I'm going to say times R. And we know that it was after 3 years that she paid the loan. 3 is T, the time. Well, they told us that she paid $390 in interest in 3 years. So our equation says 390 equals 2,600 times R times 3. We have to figure out the value of R. Notice on the same side as R, we've got 2,600 times 3. Multiplication is commutative, so I can multiply in any order. So I'll actually multiply 2,600 by 3. So I'm going to have 390 equals 2,600 times 3 is 7,800 times R. Now to get the value of R, just divide each side by 7,800. That'll leave you with R on the right. 390 divided by 7,800 is 5 hundredths, which we know is 5%. So we can say the interest rate is 5%. In example 2, they tell us that an office manager bought some office supplies with a credit card. The credit card has an interest rate of 9.9%. At the end of 3 months, he has to pay $10.52 in interest. So in part A, I want to know how much did the office manager spend on supplies? We're going to round our answer to the nearest dollar. So let's start by writing our equation, I equals PRT. All right. Well, we know that they are paying $10.52 in interest, so I'll put that in for I, $10.52. We want to know how much did the office manager spend? All right, how much did he put on the credit card? So really, how much did he borrow from the bank? When you use a credit card, you're essentially borrowing money for the bank. So we're looking for the principal here. Times the rate, 99/10% is 99 thousandths. And the time, it was up here where they said 3 months. Well, remember, divide the number of months by 12 to convert it into years. And it's going to be 25 hundredths of a year. So we have to figure out what the value of P is. And again, notice that we have two numbers on the same side that we can multiply together. So I'm going to have 10 and 52 hundredths equals P times 99 thousandths times 25 hundredths. And you get 2,475 hundred thousandths. So that number times P equals 10 and 52 hundredths. To figure out the value of P, we're going to divide by 2,475 hundred thousandths on each side. And I'll just bring this over here where I've got a little more space. I know on the right side, that's going to leave me with P, the principal. 10 and 52 hundredths divided by 0.02475. We get 425, and notice 5 hundredths repeats. 425 and 5 hundredths repeating. That's the value of P. Now we're going to take our answer and round it to the nearest dollar. 425 and 5 hundredths repeating is approximately 425. So we can say the manager spent $425 on supplies. Okay, so that would be the amount of the principal P that was borrowed. Part B says, if he makes no other charges on the credit card and does not make a payment, how much money will he owe at the end of 3 months? Okay, so again, using a credit card is like borrowing money from the bank. Not only do you have to pay back everything that you borrowed, in this case $425 on the supplies, but the bank is going to charge you interest for using their money, and you have to pay that as well. So to figure out the total amount owed, you're going to take the principal, in this case $425, and add on the interest, $10.52. And that ends up being $435 and 52 hundredths. So we could say that the manager owes $435.52 after 3 months. In example 3, they want us to find the simple interest earned for the given principal, interest rate, and time. Okay, so $1,200 is the principal, the interest rate is 3.9%, and we're going to borrow that money for 8 months. We'll start with our equation, I equals PRT. Find the simple interest, that's what we're looking for, so we'll keep I equals, and then again, the principal was $1,200. The rate in decimal form is going to be 39 thousandths when you move that decimal to the left twice. 8 months, okay? Well, again, we need to convert that into years when we use this equation. So we'll do 8 divided by 12. And if we do 8 divided by 12, notice that your calculator gives you a repeating decimal, okay? When I have a repeating decimal like this, I'm just going to actually keep the fraction that I was working with, okay? 8 months is out of the 12 months, 8 over 12 is the fraction that I'll use for time, okay? 8/12 of a year is 8 months. Now I'm going to make these other two numbers fractions by putting these over 1. And to calculate I'm just going to create a fraction. I'm going to calculate what the numerator is. I'm going to calculate what the denominator is. Now the denominator is easy. 1 times 1 times 12 is 12. So that's my denominator. For the numerator, I need to do 1,200 times 39 thousandths times 8. And that gives you 374 and 4/10. 374 and 4/10. Okay, I'll bring this over here now. To get the value of I, all I have to do is divide 374 and 4/10 by 12. So there's my number divided by 12, and I get 31 and 2/10. 31 and 2/10. Okay, so this is our I, the interest amount. The interest earned is $31.20. In example number 4, we're told that Michael's parents borrow $6,300 from the bank for a new car. The interest rate is 6% per year. If they pay the total of $756 in interest, then how long did it take to repay the loan? So when we use our equation, I equals PRT, since we want to know how long it took to repay the loan, we're going to be looking for the value of T. So let's fill in for the other amounts here. All right, I, the interest. They paid a total of $756 in interest. P, the principal. They borrowed $6,300 from the bank. And the interest rate is 6%. In decimal form, that would be 6/100. And again, we're looking for T. All right. Here on the right, I have two numbers that I can multiply together. So 756 equals, if we do 6,300 times 6/100, we end up with 378. So 378T is on the right side. And to get the value of T, we're going to divide each side by 378. Okay, when we do that on the right, we're left with T. 756 divided by 378 is 2. All right, so T equals 2. Remember, T is your time, and time is always expressed in this equation with years. So this means that the loan was repaid in 2 years. It took 2 years for Michael's parents to repay the loan. In question number 5, we're told that Grace's dad bought new tires for $900 using a credit card. His card has an interest rate of 19%. If he has no other charges on his card and does not make a payment, then how much money will he owe after 1 month? So let's start by making our equation. I equals PRT. All right, so we know that Grace's dad bought the tires for $900 with his credit card, so that's the principal amount borrowed. The interest rate is 19%, which as a decimal is 19/100. And T, the time, is for 1 month. So again, to convert months into years, divide by 12. 1 divided by 12. I've got a repeating decimal again. So once again, I'm just going to keep it as a fraction, 1/12. 1/12. All right. I'll make my other two numbers fractions by putting them over 1, and I'm going to calculate I, the interest. So I is going to equal another fraction. The denominator, again, 1 times 1 times 12 is 12. And for the numerator, I have to do 900 times 19 hundredths times 1. Well, that's not going to change anything, so I really just have to do 900 times 19 hundredths. And that gives me 171. And now I'm going to divide that number by 12 to get the value of I. 171 divided by 12, and we get 14 and 25 hundredths. Okay, so the amount of interest is $14.25. Now the question wants to know, how much money will Grace's dad owe after 1 month? Okay, well, Grace's dad has to pay back the amount that he borrowed to buy the tires, $900. And in 1 month, there's interest of $14.25 that Grace's dad is going to have to pay back. So again, you do the principal, 900, plus the interest, $14.25, and that'll give you the total amount that has to be repaid, 914 and 25 hundredths, which means that Grace's dad owes $914.25 after 1 month. Okay, that price will increase if Grace's dad doesn't pay it. All right, he's going to have to pay more interest. But after 1 month, he has to pay $914.25.